Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us wherever and whenever you're joining us from. I am here with Andrew Nguyen, who is Head of Product at Bark and who is part of the team helping us to build the Product Manifesto. Hi, Andrew. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Hi, Ellen. Pleasure to be here, and thanks for having me. And hello to everybody out there. Thank you for joining us amongst all the other places that you could be. It means a lot.
Yeah, out of the whole internet, you decided to spend your morning, afternoon, or evening with us. So thank you very much. Now, for any of you who are unfamiliar, today we're going to be talking obviously about Andrew and his experience and about product management, but we're mostly going to be focusing on Product Manifesto. Now, if you don't know what Product Manifesto is, head to the link that's just should be floating somewhere above our heads, productmanifesto.com. Definitely go check it out. It's really cool. You're going to love it. So, Andrew, I'd like to dive right in, and I'd love to know about your personal story. How did you get started in the product world?
Sure. Yeah. Happy to dive in. Right time, right place, right people. That's how I reflect upon it now. I didn't know it at the time, but I was really lucky to venture into the space. Off in engineering, and I was full stack with a mobile focus, and really a passion for delivering the front end experience, what customers might value. Something driving for me was a culmination of skills, and I didn't even know the product management discipline existed until it came along, and I saw great product people over at AOL. And there's a long history over there. It might sound like an old ancient giant, but is it's the first Google, so to speak. It's the first internet giant, and alongside of that came Marty Kagan was a part of the fold from the Netscape era into AOL. So there's a long history there, and I was just luckily able to surround myself with the right people who were willing to coach me. I was able to take the initiative, show the interest, and build my skill set across a variety of different things that opened up the opportunity. The timing piece, that's where mobile was really hitting it huge. And specialists, there's two ways to look at it. Are you a generalist or are you a specialist? Luckily for me, the need was there for a product specialist in mobile. And I had that just being an engineer in the space with the customer-centric focused mindset. And that led to opportunities. So all of it came together. I was really lucky to make that happen. And being reflective of it, I think about that all the time. That's the advice that I send out to others, especially if you're trying to break in. Think about being in the right time, right place, and the right people. And luck tends to strike.
So, speaking of being in the right time and the right place with the right people, how did you end up working on the Product Manifesto? What was it that drew you to this project?
Sure, yeah. Just being in the space of, I suppose, product influencers across a variety of channels, LinkedIn, Twitter, etc. Product school. There's a lot of social networks within product that tie us all together. So knowing Carlos, hanging out with him several times on Clubhouse and seeing things come together with fellow product peers, you got several folks that are in the working group that we've hung out before. We may have collaborated on some things, or we were meaning to collaborate on things. So one thing led to another where I saw Product Manifesto, great. There's been efforts um, um, that have been attempted before, I suppose, and me even dabbling in some. And it just felt right, like right timing, right people. And that's really what I want to center in upon, the people. So I don't know which member that I was, just seeing the roster. I think I was even late in the game. Just seeing the roster, it's like, wow, how can I come in, help these folks out? Because they're great. I want to help scale out what we're doing here on the Product Manifesto and help out as many product people, aspiring, current, senior product people, organizations as possible. It really came down to the way it was organized around fantastic product people.
And I think that one of the main strengths of the Product Manifesto is going to be the huge variety of product people that we have as well. It's not just one type of product manager. I mean, there is no one type of product manager, but we've got everybody in here. So it really is going to be the manifesto for all product people. So just lightly on that topic, the Product Manifesto was sort of very heavily inspired by the original Agile Manifesto that so many businesses are still using today. But it's not quite the right fit for product people now for like this day and age. What was it that you think, what was it about the Agile Manifesto for you that kind of fell short specifically for product people?
Sure. Yeah. So I think the Agile Manifesto is still certainly one of the better artifacts out there for anyone in tech. And the principles are fantastic. They're short, concise, memorable. There's 12 of them. Where the nuances start to come in and where they matter around what can be helpful for product, let alone any discipline, is that the principles are fantastic. They're just open to a lot of interpretation, and the interpretation changes throughout time. Technology is moving so quickly. At the time that it was made, I'll go back to my old AOL days. We were talking about things arriving on floppy disks, shrink wrapped CDs, etc. Now, mostly everything is digital. You can ship things at a much more rapid pace. So the principles still stand, but the nuances within the principles, examples that you could put forth to be as successful as you can be, that's where I think more leading, shining examples, how it can be helpful for a discipline like ours, especially a growing discipline that more and more organizations have identified a need for. Particularly with digital transformation, it's that's where I think we could help out and contribute a whole bunch. Agile Manifesto is fantastic. I don't see this as any kind of replacement for product people. It's more so, how can we build on top, and how can we help set up the next generation of product folks for success?
It's like a complementary piece rather than a total replacement.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you mentioned there that it's going to be like very helpful for a lot of people. What would you say are some of the biggest challenges that product people face today?
Sure. There's ambiguity in the way that a product organization might be ran, or even the definition of a product manager. So helping folks think through what that is, what that might be for them, introspectively, one-to-one to each person, and letting them map that out on what that might mean for them professionally, where they want to be, or if they're in a position to influence or control what that might look like for an organization. That problem will always exist, just given the nature of product, how it encapsulates so many things. So that's a challenge. And the other part of that challenge is treating yourself like a product. What's your personal roadmap? I see that for so many product folks where they take the time to do such a great job about building up the product or the features they're responsible for, but not enough time and attention on doing the same thing for themselves. So I feel like that's a tremendous opportunity to help somebody come up with their own mission, vision, and strategy to achieve their personal goals, professionally and within life. This product is something that scales out in anything that you can think of. So very multifaceted, and that's where I really feel like the challenge is just a universal challenge that will always exist. How you expand upon it, how you use it in different areas of your life and at work. That's where I see. That's where it resonates for me.
It is so interesting that the principles of product management can like stretch across so many different facets of people's lives. I know people who use prioritization frameworks to do their monthly budget just for like their household expenses. It really is so useful in so many ways. Product as a discipline, as a craft, as an industry, whatever words we want to use for it, is really experienced such an explosion in growth in recent years. Where do you see the future of product going?
Yeah, I see a lot of expansion within just going back to digital transformation. I see the space growing tremendously, and if you look at the year numbers, the trend will just only continue. There's going to be a bigger appreciation on understanding, where to go, the strategy behind things, and what product can bring for an organization. to help things to help increase your chances of success. So I see the discipline just growing in general, and then also the best practices within it, and what kind of product management you're going to want and need. I think that gets more sophisticated over time. What I'm seeing, there's certainly some challenges around navigating the space. You might identify that you may want the discipline, but what are you looking for? We still get complicated conversations around, well, is this really a product manager versus a project manager, or what's even the difference between the two? What's a product owner? What's a program manager? So being able to define that well, where there's plenty of great leading examples, even with some of the best leading examples out there that have a combination of all those, Microsoft, Amazon, etc. Just because they have it doesn't mean that your organization should. You got to figure out what's going to be appropriate for you. So I think that is certainly going to get better. I also see the industry around product ops that's going to continue to grow, and that's a sign of the times. As you expand, there's been, it started with engineering, with DevOps. It started with design ops, and now here it is, product and product ops. So sign that it's just scaling up in general. And one more thing, generalists and specialists, it's going to continue to grow in both. And that's what I like. So the areas where I see concentration in specialists, I think we saw the boom, and I was a part of the boom for say mobile. We're seeing that now, and we're going to continue to see that with data science, and that's certainly the right investment for us to make as a community, tech community. And in terms of generalists, being able to you see other disciplines like business analysts, business intelligence, etc. I think organizations consider, hey, should this be a product role? What are the gaps in skills, and how do we define that? It circles back into the earlier conversation. That's where I see product growing. The space as a whole, in terms of how many product managers, how many opportunities, and how organizations might want to go about it. And back to the individual, how might you all want to go about it in the audience?
Absolutely. So at the time of this conversation, we're still pre-launch on the Product Manifesto. It's not coming out until next month, I think. What are you anticipating from the launch? What do you think the reaction will be? What do you think people are going to do with this manifesto once we've sort of handed it over to the people?
Oh, sure. Well, market research, we're treating this like a product as well. So it's awesome to see that roadmap out there, and we're doing this in public and sharing it out. We've also gotten some survey results. So basing it on some of that and some of the intuition, I believe we're going to have a good reception in the sense of, oh, I'm glad this is here. There's a central resource for me to go after and get a sense of where I want to go. What is product management? What can it be? And how does that apply to me? So I think there's going to be a large audience, particularly with the product school audience, for those breaking in or early into product, that it's going to serve really well. The areas of opportunity, we're going to see how that hopefully works well for say more seasoned veterans in product, and also product organizations. That's where I think there's so many nuances within that. So what we're looking to do, what I'm personally looking to do, is take in the feedback and iterate upon it. Just like a product, we're going to launch it. We're going to adapt to the feedback and work to make this even better for our community. For me, it's all about giving back to the product community. It's done a whole world of good for me. I'm looking to give back, so it does the same for others.
Absolutely. That seems to be very much the consensus whenever we have people, product people collaborating with us on things like this. It's that sense of wanting to give back to the community, which has already given them so much. So the cycle of giving and receiving is really cool to see. So something interesting I picked up on there. You mentioned about how we've made the roadmap public. We're very open with like where we are in the development of this product. For you, what's it been like to build a product in front of an audience of product people? Is it a little bit like cooking in front of Gordon Ramsay?
No, well, this group has been terrific. So in your earlier question, what drew me into it is just fantastic people that are super easy to work with. So fortunately, no Gordon Ramsay, although I do appreciate how witty and humorous he is. We don't have that, I suppose, kind of strong personality. We have a lot of people that are open, super highly effective communicators and collaborators that are just really well open-minded, and they're super objective too. So it's a great mix of product folks that can work well together. When I think there could be conceptions or perceptions that you got a bunch of Type A people in the room, they can't mix. Well, let's break that perception apart. There's various types of product people. They're not all Type A, and fortunately, everyone within this working group has collaborated really, really well. So it's been a thrill to me to work out in the open with other product leaders. That I would dare to call my friends as well. It's been awesome.
Great. Yeah, I don't want to come out too strongly and say that this is the coolest thing that Product School's ever done, but I kind of think it's the coolest thing that we've done.
Nice.
Don't quote me on that, but I think it is. So since we haven't launched yet, we can't give everything away, but maybe we can give the audience today a little sneak peek of what's coming. So what would you say your favorite principles from the Product Manifesto?
Sure. So I won't go verbatim. I'll save all of that, but I'll give like subtle hints on the principle, and you'll probably recognize it once you tie two to two together. But say structuring a narrative, that's going to be within one of the principles, and that's one of my favorite ones, especially in this world of hybrid or remote and full. This is exceptionally an important skill set to have, where you can structure a good narrative, become a good storyteller in all formats, especially written. So it's really relevant to where I believe product has been heading. What the Amazons and Netflixes of the world do, a lot of written communication to structure your thoughts, make a case for an investment and effort that you're trying to get sign off or grassroots support for. Effective storytelling and structuring a narrative and how to go about it, some guidelines that will help you be cohesive and make the best story possible. It's one of my favorite things because, again, it's just one of those things that you can apply anywhere. I happen to coach youth basketball. I've been doing it for ages, and now I structure, believe it or not, I structure narratives when I think about the game plan per game, per season. There's like different levels to it, how you do it at work for your respective environment, whether remote or hybrid, etc., and how you bridge it into your personal life. That's like a huge part of me now, where I'd say maybe 3-4 it was less. So it's been heightened, particularly in this environment.
Mm-hmm. Yes, storytelling is one of those skills that's so underrated. I think people don't realize how often they need it, or even how often they do it every day. Like everyone in product has to tell a story. So definitely agree with you on that one. Very excited to see what that mystery principle is. So we've already touched on this roughly just now, but how do you think you'll use the principles the manifesto as a whole in your day-to-day as a product leader?
Great. So the working group has structured, we went through a prioritization exercise. We ideated, prioritized against all the principles, and universally, those are all the things that we do, close, if not a day-to-day basis, close to it. So those things are already happening. And I'll go back into the example of my favorite. I do that pretty much every day. Either I'm editing a narrative, a written narrative, or I'm structuring one together. On a smaller scale, game plans. That's, I suppose, one of my favorite terms for it. It might not be like the full-blown press release FAQ that Amazon might have, or a 6-pager that they're famous for, but they're more so along the lines of one-pagers of what we're going to do given any situation. Which scenarios are we prepping for? I do that pretty much on a daily basis. I'm either editing one or creating one, or going back into something that's more cohesive in nature, say, press release or 6-pager. And there's many others within the principles. Happy to I'll save those for later with other fireside chats and of course the launch itself. But those things do happen on a daily basis for me as well.
Mm-hmm. And so we've already touched on this. We've already talked about so much. But the product manifesto is something that's for all product managers, and I feel like sometimes there's a little bit of an imbalance between the resources out there that are made for brand new product managers or people looking to break into PM for the first time versus the resources that are either for everyone or they're for like mid-level, senior level PMs. How does the manifesto cater to PMs at every level?
Great. So fantastic question, Ellen, and that's a fantastic observation too. The principles apply, each principle really does apply at every level of product. And at the very least, if you're breaking in, those are the things to consider, because you will, guaranteed, you will run into the scenarios where you can make use of a given principle that we will have published. So I think that's the mindset that we should get ahead of with our prospective readers. Hey, if you're within this stage, these are the principles that you might want to over-index on, or this is the mindset that you might want to have as you read through them. So it's meant to be flexible in that nature. If you go back into the, say, Agile Manifesto, that's where I think that's our value add. We're going to help out on the nuances. So the same thing should apply here as we look at having this be a resource for any level of product. The principles will always apply. It's how they apply. So what's the story that we tell within that given principle, say for someone breaking in, someone that's brand new, someone that's trying to break into product leadership, and someone that's constructing a product organization. So as we expand upon it, there's going to be blog posts, et cetera. We want to tell those stories on how it applies to various levels.
And is there anyone else in maybe in or outside of an organization who maybe isn't on like the traditional product manager career ladder? Is there anyone outside of that would also benefit from reading this? Like when product managers get into their hands, who should they be sharing it with?
Oh, great. Yeah. So I think I'm seeing some of the live chatter too around how can I break in, especially if I'm not technical. This can apply for anybody. So applying these principles that you see, thinking about how that might apply to breaking in, consider your game plan or your strategy on breaking into product if that's something that you really want to do. Having a good understanding of what it is, and that's what we're trying to help out with, it can take you so many different routes in terms of even navigating on what kind of position that you might want, or what you're positioned for, rather. Breaking in as, say, a specialist, for example, if you're not in tech, or if you're in a completely different field or haven't done product before or nothing adjacent, that tends to be the advice. So nuances like that, we'll try to capture within complimentary blog posts and whatnot. But that's something that was covered as well in, I believe, one of our Clubhouse chats. If you're in the scenario where you're trying to break in a less relevant field, what field are you in? Because guaranteed, whatever you're at, there's a product position that's related to it. So I remember a specific example in a Clubhouse chat, one of several, might not have been a part of this, but someone in hair care was trying to break in. There's a ton of product positions because they're all going digital transformation, looking for product people. So if you can build the skill set, whether it's through product school or self-training, whatever your story is, position yourself. You have experience within the field. You're passionate about it. You're well positioned to succeed, and the company is willing to take a chance. That's where I see success, breaking in when either you don't have the relevant experience technically. That's how you set yourself up for success there.
I second that entirely. I know people who have gotten into product management from being like landscape gardeners, and you think that's as far away from the tech industry as you can get. but they did it. So, and then you hear people say, oh, I'm only a UX designer. How will I ever become a product manager? And you think, if landscape gardeners and hairdressers can do it, you can absolutely do it. There's no limits on be a product manager, that's for sure. So that's we're just coming up to all of the time that we have for today, which is such a shame, but I'm sure we'll see more of Andrew very soon. So Andrew, I have one more question for you. Sure. What are you the most hopeful for the future of product management or the product industry?
Ooh, great question. So what I'm most hopeful for is on a rapid acceleration on even more products, services that do the world good. That's ultimately what we're here for. We're here to deliver value, make the world, dare I say it, the world a better place. Literally, that's what we're here to do. We build things that customers love, make life even more enjoyable. So more better product people, more product people leads to only that. And this is a skill set, a mindset that goes beyond, say, a product manager, owner, et cetera, a designer. It goes into engineering. It goes into folks that are in QA. It goes into any. So how can we make your life better, even as an individual? Let's just say you don't even get into product, but the principles that we can instill for you and help tell stories around how you can apply them, work or life. How can we make life better for you? I'm super excited that as the discipline grows, how this can fold into everybody's life.
Absolutely. A great note to end on there. So Andrew, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Ellen. Definitely a pleasure and honor. And thank you everybody for tuning in. Really much appreciated.
Yes, thank you everyone for joining us. I hope you found that as insightful and as fun as I did. Don't forget to head to the link that is floating above my head somewhere, www. Not that you need to know that, productmanifesto.com. So head straight there and check it out to see what the hell we've been talking about for the last half an hour. So with that being said, I will wish you all a lovely afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you are. And we'll see you again very soon for another Manifesto Fireside Chat. Bye, everyone.